Well, welcome back. This time we're here in the back sacristy to talk about the Liturgy of Holy Thursday. Earlier in the day on Holy Thursday, or in some cases earlier in the week, the bishop in every cathedral around the world celebrates what's called the Chrism Mass, in which all of the priests of the diocese gather to renew their priestly promises, and the three sacred oils are blessed for the entire diocese for the coming year. That would be the sacred chrism, the oil of the catechumens, and the oil of the infirm. The evening Mass of the Lord's Supper is the liturgy that begins the Triduum. So, according to our missal, Lent ends during the day on Holy Thursday. And with the evening Mass of the Lord's Supper, the Triduum begins. There are no Masses on Holy Thursday morning, out of ancient tradition. This evening Mass of the Lord's Supper involves the decoration of the sanctuary with flowers, the rubrics say, with a moderation that accords with the character of this day. The tabernacle should be entirely empty from the beginning of Mass, but a sufficient amount of bread should be consecrated in this Mass for the communion of the clergy and the people on this and the following day. You're going to see how that's going to be a little bit different this year. After the entrance chant and the entrance rites, the rubrics say that the Gloria in excelsis, the glory to God in the highest, is sung. And while the hymn is being sung, the church bells are rung. And when it is finished, those bells remain silent until the Gloria of the Easter Vigil. Likewise, during this same period, the organ and the other musical instruments may be used only so as to support the singing. So there's this period of time between the Holy Thursday Gloria and the Easter Vigil Gloria, where we have basically no instruments unless they're used to support the singing. The liturgy proceeds, and it's one of the rare cases where the missal actually directs the priest about the topic of the homily. The rubric says, the priest gives a homily in which light is shed on the principal mysteries commemorated in this Mass, namely the institution of the Eucharist, the institution of the priestly order, and the commandment of the Lord concerning fraternal charity. And that command, of course, has been heard in the Gospel, which is the proclamation of the washing of the feet. It's very interesting and very instructive to us that the Church chooses as the Gospel for Holy Thursday, the Gospel of the Last Supper, not one of the institution narrative Gospels, but the Gospel of John, where there is no institution narrative as such, but we have the washing of the feet. I'm going to talk about the two women in the stained glass windows behind me and what I've been struck with, especially this year. So normally, after the homily, we would have the washing of the feet. There's no creed said on this day because Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and Holy Saturday are one liturgy, and so we're going to get to the creed and the renewal of the baptismal promises on Holy Saturday. The Missal specifically gives us a text for the offertory. The text is called Ubi Caritas, where true charity is dwelling, God is present there. The Eucharistic prayer is a special one if one of the Eucharistic prayer options called the Roman Canon is used. There are special inserts for the night of the Lord's Supper in this prayer. We get through the communion rite as normal, but at an appropriate moment during communion, the priest entrusts the Eucharist from the table of the altar to deacons or acolytes or other ministers so that afterwards it may be brought to the sick. And then a ciborium with hosts for communion on the following day is left on the altar. The priest says the prayer after communion, and then we have this transfer of the Most Blessed Sacrament to an altar of repose somewhere else. And the tabernacle in the church then still remains empty. So we have several adaptations this year from our diocesan directives. First of all, it is customary to receive the oils blessed at the Chrism Mass before the evening Mass of the Lord's Supper begins. So those oils blessed by the bishop are brought in a ceremonial way into the church. That will not be happening this year. Also, the washing of the feet will not be happening this year because obviously we have no congregation. But it's important for us to remember that what we're doing when we celebrate the washing of the feet in the liturgy is not a reenactment. Rather, it is us carrying out the mandate that Christ gives us. As I have done, so you must do. As I have washed your feet, so you must wash one another's feet. So, as I said in the introductory video, we're not just memorializing, we're making present and fulfilling Christ's command to do as he has done. And then at the end of communion, according to our diocesan directives this year, the tabernacle, the Eucharist is simply placed in the tabernacle with enough having been consecrated for the priests and ministers who will be celebrating the Good Friday liturgy. So normally you would see an empty tabernacle all throughout the Holy Thursday liturgy. This year we won't, because there will be no procession, no transfer of the Most Blessed Sacrament to an altar of repose, no time of adoration. So the Holy Thursday liturgy will come to sort of a very awkward end because there's no final blessing. As I've said, the Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and Holy Saturday liturgies are really one large celebration. So there can't be a final blessing because the liturgy will continue when we get to Good Friday. Now, these two saints in the window behind me are second order and third order Franciscans. As I said, our windows come to us from St. Joseph Parish on Woodland, a parish that no longer exists. And so that was a Franciscan parish, so many of our windows depict Franciscan saints. And here we see depicted St. Clare and St. Elizabeth of Hungary, who was a third order Franciscan. Both of them, I think, are very helpful to us on this particular Holy Thursday 2020. St. Clare, of course, is shown holding the Blessed Sacrament in the monstrance. She was abbess of her convent and defended her convent with the presence of the Holy Eucharist. Of course, all of us, as we live stream, are struck, and even those of us celebrating here, reaching out to you, are struck by how distant that can seem. St. Elizabeth of Hungary had the habit of taking bread to the poor outside the castle. And her pagan husband said to her, if you do that one more time and you're caught, you will be executed. So of course she took bread to the poor again, and the guards stopped her. And they asked her to show them what was under her robe, her cloak, and when she opened her cloak, the Lord had miraculously turned the bread to flowers. So anytime you see St. Elizabeth depicted in stained glass or a statue, she normally has that garland of flowers in her hand, but very sneakily on the side there, right down here, you can see she's holding a loaf of bread. So there we have two images of bread, Eucharist as it's being celebrated here in the church, but also the call for us to be Eucharist for the world, wherever we are, in our homes with our family, when we're out making essential trips in the world. These two saints, St. Clare and St. Elizabeth of Hungary, inspire us on Holy Thursday this year to both celebrate the Eucharist through live streaming of the Triduum liturgy, but also to remember to continue to reach out and be Eucharist for one another. Again, Father Tim and Father Eric and the whole pastoral staff wish you safety and health. Please know that we're praying for you and we love you all.